Hey there, it's me, Lauren with Bold Notion Quilting, and I wanted to share a face mask tutorial for you all. It is a full face structured face mask, and it is reversible. The pattern is available on boldnotionquilting.com. You can just type in face mask and it'll pop up in the search settings. It is a free pattern available to those of you that might need it to get some of the masks made. This mask was made kind of from a conjunction of a bunch of different patterns. A lot of the patterns are really similar, but I adjusted where I put the ties to ensure that they were at a top upward angle on the mask so that when you tie the mask to your face, it is nice and flat. So let's walk you through the steps of how to do the face mask. First thing you're going to want to do is print out the PDF pattern and select some fabrics to use. The fabrics that you select to use, you will need a fabric for the front of your mask, a fabric for the back of your mask, and non-woven fusible interfacing. You're going to press out all of your fabrics to ensure that there's no wrinkles, and take your fusible interfacing and put that and press it down to the wrong side of your fabric. What this is going to do is make your fabric a bit more stiff and stabilize it so that when you are finished making the mask, it's going to be able to kind of stand up on its own. This is what gives the mask that awesome structured shape. Step 2, once we have the fusible interfacing adhered to both styles of fabrics that we want for the front and back of our mask, we're going to lay them on our cutting table right sides together. So the pretty part of the fabrics are going to lay on each other, and then the fusible interfacing is going to be facing up. We're going to take that PDF pattern that we cut from the mask, and then we're going to lay that on top of our fusible interfacing, take a pen or a marker, and draw around the mask shape. Once you've drawn around the mask shape as many times as you need to for as many masks as you need, I recommend using scissors to cut around that shape. It's a bit easier than using the rotary cutter. Once you've cut all of those pieces out, you're left with two odd-looking pieces that look the same as your PDF pattern. And so what you're going to do is, with right sides together, you're going to sew along the round outer edge of the mask for all of your front and back mask pieces. You can see here in the second picture that it is just pulled open with it sewn just once. And what we're going to do is then iron that down. We're going to fold it in half with the right sides out and iron it down. And then we're going to stitch along the edge over the top of it. We're going to top stitch it, and we're going to catch part of that back seam to ensure that the more we wash with the wear and tear, that it doesn't unravel and come apart. It should stay together for a long time. Now, when I did this step, I used a bi-level foot on my sewing machine so that one side is higher and one side is lower, and that lower side holds down the fabric, and the higher side allows for the part with the seam to kind of sit under it and butt up next to the low part, and that will allow for a nice straight stitching line. Remember to do this for both the front and back parts of your mask pieces. Then, before we can continue assembling the mask, you'll need to make some fabric ties. You can do this by just cutting 1/2-inch strips out of t-shirt material if you don't want to actually follow this process and make some like bias binding ties. But if you want to make some finished fabric pieces, if you've got some fabric in your stash you want to use, definitely cut some strips anywhere from 1.75 inches wide to about 2 inches wide. If you've got the bias binding maker, the little metal piece that you can see right here in the photo, the little tool, that is going to be a godsend. It'll help you so much. But essentially what you want to do is cut your 1 3/4 inch strips or your 2-inch strips, and you're going to fold them in half, and then you're going to fold them in on each other in half again, as shown here in the photo. Then once you have the finished sides on both sides of the bias tape or the ties that you're making, the part that has the 2 edges that is folded out, you're going to go ahead and sew down that to seal in the casing. So again, it's nice and finished when you get ready to wash them. So step 4, we want to apply those ties to the mask. So you're going to go ahead and get out your full mask piece, either your front or your back, whichever one you want to put it on, doesn't matter, because the ties actually come out of where the seams meet because it is reversible. So you're just going to pick one of those sides, and you're going to take your bias tape, and you're going to put the raw edge along the outside of your mask here, and you're going to pin it, and then all of that extra 18 inches of the bias tape that you've cut, you're just going to lay over into the side of your mask. And then for the top part you're going to go ahead and pin that 1/2 inch from the outer edge from the left, and you're going to repeat that process on the right for both of these. So 1/2 inch from the bottom and 1/2 inch from the left edge for those 2 ties. Now you'll notice that my top tie has a 45-degree angle cut, and it is aligned with the raw edge of my mask, and my actual fabric kind of looks like it's whipping out to the side of my fabric. That's the angle that I want when I'm stitching it on. If when you put that 45-degree angle on, the fabric goes in towards the mask, you're doing it the wrong way. You want to have it facing out. This way, when you go to tie the mask up and around your face, that fabric pulls exactly at the angle that it should, so that your mask doesn't bend or flop or move. So you'll go ahead and pin on those 4 ties, and then you'll nest your front and your back parts of your mask together, right sides together, and scrunch all of those fabric ties in the middle. What I recommend doing is pinning where your 2 seams are at the middle of your mask, at the top and at the bottom, to allow for the seams to meet up just right. You'll notice over here in the picture on the left that I have pinned that 45-degree angle strip in with my mask, and that is because when you sew, because this wants to go to the outside of the mask, you don't want to accidentally sew that into the casing that you're making. So make sure to pin it out of the way, but do keep intact that 45-degree angle with the raw edge on the side. Once you've pinned your top and bottom, you can see here in the bottom left picture, everywhere where I have the pins, my 4 ties, my top and bottom, you're going to sew a casing starting on one of the sides and working your way towards the middle and all the way around, and then you're going to finish off with the corner on the final side. You do want to make sure to stitch this corner, because if you don't, it's a lot harder for this fabric at the bottom to fold under and press when you're done. Then once you've sewn 90% of your mask together, you're going to go ahead and pull through that little 2-inch gap that you left. Pull all of it out. Take a little gadget. I'm using a crochet hook. You could use a purple thing. If you've got a finishing tool or a chopstick, use that and poke it up into all 4 corners to ensure that all of your corners are nice and square for when you go to press. Once all of your corners are pushed out and your mask is nice and square, you're going to want to press all of your edges down, and what this will do is it'll help keep the mask in place when you go to top stitch to finish it. Then you're going to take the mask to your machine, and you're going to top stitch around all the edges, and then make sure to close up that extra 2-inch part that you pulled the fabric through to begin with. Do make sure that that is 100% sealed. Sometimes if when you're pressing, the fabrics don't press in the right place, it doesn't always seal. So make sure that you get that sealed with some stitching. You'll see right here in this 3rd picture that the 1/4-inch casing that I have around the outside, the finished part, what it looks like, and then you've got your final finished mask. Make sure to backstitch or lock your stitches if you have the option on your machine. Now you can see how nice the mask holds across the face, and see how the ties are up at an angle up and over the ears as to not cause discomfort. It does allow for the mask to sit nice and flat across the top and the sides of the face, and then of course it also holds nice and tight across the chin. Your new mask is going to be reusable, reversible, washable, and comfortable. And if you're like my husband, you're going to love that it's stylish. I told him to come pick some fabrics out of my stash for his mask, and he's like, are you going to let me pick the ones I want, or are you just going to tell me what I can pick from? So I let him pick the ones that he wanted, and he ended up with the American flag looking mask. So this is something that I think that a lot of guys can get excited about wearing. It looks a little more masculine and structured, and it's not the folded face mask. I think sometimes the guys enjoy that a little bit better. So this mask is great for children 11 and older, and for adults. My daughter is 9, and the mask is a little bit too big for her face and goes too close to her ears. So if you want to make this pattern for children or toddlers, consider taking the pattern to a scanner and adjusting, or printing the pattern from your printer at 70 or 80% of the size that it is, because the shape of the mask will still hold true to a person no matter the size that the mask is printed. So definitely give it a try, and try printing out a couple different sizes that might work for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, and other people that might need masks. Thank you to everyone who is doing all of this hard work to help everyone in need during this crazy time. And please be sure to share this pattern with whomever might make use of it. And remember, you can get the PDF download on boldnotionquilting.com, and you just have to search in the products section or the courses section for face mask, and it will pop right up for you. Take care and happy quilting!